This episode of the Stickers and Scuffs podcast is presented in partnership with Mighty Wipes, an all-natural unscented wipe that is now available in Canada. Designed to cater to the needs of racers and homemakers alike, Mighty Wipes offers a versatile range of products that are sure to impress. Their automotive degreaser is specially formulated to tackle the toughest grease and grime, making it perfect for racers who demand nothing but the best. Meanwhile, their kitchen and barbecue degreaser is perfect for use at home, ensuring that your kitchen and barbecue are always clean and grease-free. Mighty Wipes also has soapy hand wipes that are designed to keep your hands moisturized and clean, made with all natural ingredients. They're gentle on the skin and are perfect for use on the go. Whether you're home or on the road, Mighty Wipes has got you covered. We at the Stickers and Scuffs podcast are proud to have Mighty Wipes as a partner. If you're looking for reliable and effective wipes that's all natural and unscented, look no further than Mighty Wipes. Head to www.canadawipes.com to find out where you can get your Mighty Wipes today.
Hi, this is Mario Andretti, and you're tuned into Cam, Graydon, and the team at Stickers and Scuffs podcast. They're true Canadian racing fans.
Hello, Stickers and Scuffs family. Once again, it is Cam K here with you. Guest co-host today, Wade Yarrow, is back with us on the show. And man, we could have planned this guest any better. Comes off of winning the Super Stock, the big event at the Autumn Colors Classic, which finally happened this past weekend. Miles Tyson joins us, somebody who we've wanted to have on the show for quite a while. And why not get him after one of his best seasons that he's had? Welcome on, Miles. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, we got to talk with the big deal, man. ACC, it's not an easy thing to win. And, man, you had a stacked field that you had to get through. Car looked to be really, really good. And while a girl, Marley, was chasing you down, it looked like that car was pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, no, the car was working really good. We went out for the first practice there, or the practice that we had, and I wasn't too happy with the car. And I said to Dad, I'm like, I don't know what to do to this thing because we don't race for another 7 hours or whatever, however long it was till the feature was. And then he's like, I don't know, we'll see what happens and we'll wait. And I was like, all right, whatever, we can do that. And then we were up there watching. We kind of seen that the track was getting a little bit slick or whatever. And anyways, I said to him before the feature, I'm like, do you want to do any changes to it? He's like, no, I think I'm going to send you out with the setup you had from practice. And I was like, all right, whatever. I'm fine with that then. So anyways, that's what we did, and the track ended up coming to us. And I was actually really surprised with how good the car was working because it was just getting better and better every lap as the race kept going on.
Well, and that's always something that I think is very interesting for us. We obviously at the podcast, we're big fans of Peterborough Speedway. That's just one of the best places to race. It's not our home track as such. Our home track is out at Sunset Speedway, which you have experience at. But I'm very curious as to because you guys start your season essentially the end of spring into the summer, go through the summer months, and then end in the fall. How different does the car drive on Peterborough Speedway surface in what was a very cold couple of weeks out at Peterborough compared to, say, the heat of the summer?
I noticed when the sun was really beating on it this summer that the track would be really greasy and slick. Like the car would feel like it was just sliding on it. It wasn't like to the track. Versus like autumn colors, for an example, the car was really like it was on the track, like it had more bite, it felt like, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Versus it just wanting to slide around.
So you've raced Legends cars before, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and that was what you were racing before you got into the Super Stock?
Yes. Well, actually, no, sorry. I ran a limited late model.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let's hear about it, man. I mean, you guys, it's funny. It's funny, Wade. We've had a couple Legends guys that we've had on here, and they're normally not normal guys. Let's be honest. Those Legend guys, they like to wheel around like crazy. Again, we like to hear a little bit of the history on some of the races that we haven't had on the show before. I've got to know kind of where Miles Tyson came from in motorsports, where he started out. Is it junior lates? Is it, like you say, is it Legends? Is it mini stocks? Because I mean, people kind of we had like Cameron McGlashan said he started racing a lot later than other people. Now we got the junior late guys who are starting at like 8, 9, 10 years old. So how did Miles Tyson start his journey in this?
So my dad used to go to the racetrack all the time with a guy named Herbie Buchanan. And he used to crew for him years ago at Sunset in Peterborough, Bossport, and Kawartha, I believe. And then my mom also grew up at Cayuga because my papa had an alcohol funny car.
Oh,
Ooh.
So when I was getting older, my dad was still interested in racing because we would follow the Oscar super late models when that was still a big thing back in the day. So he came home one day back in 2007, I believe it was, and he had a piece of paper for an arrive and drive program at Goodwood Kartways. So he asked me if I was interested, and I said, yeah, sure, why not? What do I have to lose, right? And he made a bet with me if I won my first go-kart race in the arrive and drive series that he would buy me my first go-kart. So little to know, I go out for my first race and I end up winning it. So then he ended up buying me my own kart. I finished racing that full season in the arrive and drive program, and I ended up winning the championship in that, my first ever year racing. So then we ended up racing competitive the following year at Goodwood with a club called, I believe it was Toronto Kart Club. I can't really remember. And then, anyways, it just ended up going up from there. I traveled across Ontario, racing at Shannonville, Leamington. I used to race at Mossport as well, Sutton Kartways, Innisfil Indy. Flamborough, I used to race there on the go-kart track. Kawartha Downs when it was still a go-kart track as well. And I also traveled to Trois-Rivières and Mont-Tremblant.
Damn! Again, this is one of those things, Wade. I mean, he sounds like Andrew Ranger out here, man, just driving all over the place. That's absolutely. I had no idea that you were like all these places. So, how old are you when you're doing all this traveling around?
I started racing when I was 7 years old, and then when we did all that traveling, I was probably around 11 years old or 12 years old.
Here we are going, like, oh, just an oval track racer. No. You start
funny story. Me and Garrett Tamiersma have been racing against each other since we were little kids.
Oh.
And now you can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that I think I love hearing about that type of stuff too, is who kind of you came up with. So Garrett is one of those. Is there any other racers across Ontario or even Canada that we would know as potentially part of your class that you grew up racing against?
Well, that's a tough one. I got to think about that one
We make you think here on the podcast.
I can't really think of anybody offhand other than Garrett.
Oh, you're that lucky, eh? You get to be with Garrett.
Jordan Latimer that races legend cars now.
Okay. Yeah.
I used to race with him. Corey Luciano, but I never actually raced in his division. This can bug me now.
This is what we do, man. We get on here. We got to get the facts, man. We got to get the facts. And this is what's interesting is that you guys go from doing so you're doing obviously not oval races in go-karts. You're doing road courses, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So how do you end up going from road course racing in go-karts to being an oval track racer?
That's a very good question.
Is that where the Legends cars come into play? Was it go-kart to Legends car?
Well, when I first started racing cars, before I got into all of that other stuff, my dad was looking at junior late models. But at the time, I believe they only ran at Delaware or Varney.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really remember. It was a while ago. So we ended up looking at mini stocks. And I ended up buying Daryl Feist's mini stock. And then I ran that my first year in 2014. And then me and my dad ended up building a new car for the following year in 2015. And then I ended up running that. And then we made the jump in 2016, I believe it was, to Super Stocks. And then I ran that for a couple years. And then one of the guys that was a big part of my go-karting career, Fred Jordan, he ended up buying a legend car, and he ended up telling me to take it out one day and practice it. And I was like, all right, sure, why not? So I jumped in it and I went out and I was like, wow, this thing really reminds me a lot of a go-kart just because of the small wheelbase of it and the size of it, right? And I also used to race Rotex back in the day when I ran go-karts. So just the power of it and the size of it at all, it kind of just brought me back to racing my Rotex in the rain, really, because it just had a lot of power for the size of the car and the weight of it, right? And anyways, Freddie ended up throwing me in it for a few races, and then I ended up doing pretty well. The one year at Sunset for the Velocity, I finished second. I lost by a foot.
Oh.
And
who was it to? Who was it to?
Kevin Foisey.
Never forget.
Say never forget. Never forget.
Kevin Foisey.
They made me start at the rear of the field because I was a rookie. So I started I don't even know. It was 20 something. So then I ended up making a deal with Freddie because he wanted to sell the car and stuff. And I ended up buying it and I ran it for just when I had time through the season of when I had nights off or whatever. And then I ended up, we ended up getting fed up with Super Stock or something. And then we ended up selling my old car and we concentrated on just running the legend car. And then I ended up buying one of Nick Ledston's cars. And then we ended up running a partial season. Actually, I don't even think it was a partial season. I think it was 3 or 4 races that summer. And I blew up 3 motors and we were like, all right, we're done. This is the season.
Yeah.
And then saved up our money and we ended up buying the new Z09 motor and put that in. And we ended up coming back the following season to run full time and ended up destroying a car and just having some bad luck and stuff. And I was like, all right, I've had enough of this division. I'm going to get out of it. And we bought the limited late model from Sean Grossman.
Mm-hmm.
Ran that for a full season, and that was a big learning curve from anything I've ever raced, to be honest with you. And ended up winning the Velocity in 2021 there, the fall Velocity, and ran it a few times the season after and won a couple times then. And then we ended up getting the new Super Stock, and that's what we've been racing now.
Excellent. So I got some questions about the limited late models. What exactly was different from them to, say, the Super Stock? Was it the suspension?
I wouldn't say as much. Yeah, I would say the suspension, because they run bump stops. So it was a kind of a different driving style. You couldn't be hard on the brakes coming into the corner because it would upset it and stuff. And then also the tires. I learned real quick that the right rear tire means a lot more in a late model than it did in a Super Stock. As soon as you fry that thing off, the car doesn't want to do anything you want it to do.
Well, in being in a switch to like different divisions like that, you get to obviously interact with several different competitors within that time, and it's funny actually that I would think that this year, coming away with the Peterborough Super Stock Championship, winning the ACC, but it wasn't like a hand me out. It was a hard earned championship this year. Peterborough, which I think people fail to realize, is they look at car counts and they just go, "Oh well, this division it's suffering, it sucks." But when you go and look at the actual meat behind it, there is a lot of great competition in the Super Stock divisions for how small they are. The great thing I think about Peterborough this year is that you did have tough competition with Mark Gordon for the championship. I mean, it came right down to the end. You have guys that you're racing, and I think that's also what's probably, as a racer that used to tour, you would have a different track all the time, right? Now you did go out and do the Qwick Wick Super Stocks this year, which we'll get to, but is there, like, for those that maybe don't understand or don't look at weekly racing, what is the benefit for you guys racing the same track all year?
I just think, honestly, just learning about the track more and learning what the car needs to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, yeah, you should have won ACC because you raced there all summer." But people forget that we weren't running the tires that we were running at ACC every Saturday night.
Yes.
So we were running a retread tire versus the American Racer. It's a completely different tire. So luckily, 2 weeks ago when it rained out, it gave us time to make some changes to my car because I wasn't happy with it that weekend. Just because we should have done it, but we never did it. We never tested at all this summer on the American Racers to get practice on them to see what we had to do to the car to make sure it was good for ACC or the Qwick Wick race that we did at Peterborough this year.
And the retread was obviously, that's a hot topic because I think a lot of people were, there's questions about why would you run a different tire than everywhere else, and why this and why that. But I'd love to hear what the experience was like driving on a retread, and how you felt that this year went with them, because I mean, it is, in a way, is it was meant for a cost saving measure for the teams, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Did it hurt the racing at all?
Honestly, I think if all the tracks went to those tires, I think the racing would still be the exact same. And personally, I think the car counts might get back up again because you're buying tires right now for, I think they're $260 a tire. The tires that we were running this year at Peterborough are $200 a tire. So it's cutting off a whole bunch of money that is allowing people to have for fuel or entry fee or whatever, right? And I'll be honest with you, I bought 7 tires the whole season at Peterborough this year. And for me to run the 3 Qwick Wick races I did this year, Velocity and ACC, I bought tires for almost all of those races.
I mean, that's what we're talking about right there. cost saving in racing. It's like a funny thing because it's like what does that mean? So in terms of the drivability with the retread tire, any difference at all, or it literally just it feels about the same? Not as good as probably as a sticker, but
they feel the same, but they're they're a couple tenths slower.
Okay.
I would say they don't have the same grip as what the American racers do. But the thing with the American racers is they're fast for the first 15, 20 laps before they fall off. Where I found with the retreads is they were pretty consistent the whole 20 laps. They didn't really fall off much.
I've been told that by a lot of drivers that the retreads will actually get faster over time sometimes.
Yes.
Where the American racer, it falls off, and the retreads are cheaper. And
so it's definitely sounding like we're on the right path there. I mean, JP is, and you guys at Peterborough, man, you guys got some good racers in that division. That super stock division, I tell you, has got some of my favorite racers in it. It's got obviously yourself in there. You got Marley, who always is out there performing. Was as somewhat of a teammate of you actually with the Stewart's connection, and then you've got good old Donovan Price, our good buddy out there, who I'm not going to mouth off on anymore because I forgot to realize, that guy could kick my ass, right? So guy kind of practices his kicking. Brandon Feeney, who will race literally anything with a motor. And then you got a couple of guys that have been out there, like Brad Laval's been a longtime Peterborough racer. Mark Gordon, always impressive out there. Garrett came out for a couple races, and he had one of those years that you wish you don't have, right? Just nothing seems to go well. But that was kind of the opposite for you guys. You kind of seemed to hit the ground running, and a very slick looking ride this year. Why did you guys choose the reflective look? Because man, it is nice under those lights.
So I'm going back to the old Oscar Super Late model days. Magic Shoes, Rob Clark.
Yes.
So that's where I got my number from, because he was my favorite driver back in the day. And I don't know, something just about the black and the gold is just something that I've always liked. Mm-hmm. And I had it on my second mini stock that we built. I had it on my legend car as well. And I also had it on my old super stock. And then we kind of got away from it a little bit, just because it is expensive for the gold chrome and just the maintaining part of it all and everything. And my dad honestly just wanted to get some neon yellow or fluorescent orange and just slap it on the side of the car and call it a day this year.
No.
And and I
although
said to him,
Kubota orange would be nice. Let's throw a plug there.
And anyways, I just ended up saying to him that I'm going to spend the money, I'll pay for it myself, and I'm going to get the car wrapped. And he's like, well, I don't think it's a good idea. I was like, well, you can think what you want, and I'll do my own deal. And anyways, we went and picked up the car when it was done after Darren did it, and my dad actually liked it. I was actually really surprised. And the amount of comments that we've gotten over the summer this year from how nice that car looks is nice.
So you've raced a bunch of different race cars in a bunch of different divisions. What would be your favorite? And what was probably your favorite track to race it at?
Oh, this is a stacked question. We could go the other way too, Wade. We could also say, what's the least favorite car that he's ever driven?
Probably a mini stock I didn't like.
Really, eh?
After racing the V8s with all the power.
Oh, okay.
I got into a mini stock one year at Autumn Colors, and I stood on the gas pedal, and I was like, this is lame.
Oh, that cuts me deep because that's my favorite division. Oh.
Don't get me wrong, they're fun cars to race, but once you race something with a lot of power, it's just it's completely different.
The speed difference between a super stock and a mini stock, I mean, there's no comparison there. Is there a plan potentially to up the division and go maybe to a late model?
We've talked about it. Honestly, it's just money.
Yeah.
Prolates is the next level than what Super Stock is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just the cost of cars nowadays is just mind-boggling. Like, it's insane.
Well, and I would love to hear what the other part of Wade's question, which is, the favorite track that you've been on, because you named a lot already, and that extends. I mean, even when you were a legend racer, you would have raced on a whole bunch of other places as well that we didn't even talk about. I would imagine you would have raced out at Sauble potentially, maybe at Grand Bend, maybe Varney. I'm not sure if they raced all out there. Obviously, you raced at the Mosport Oval, which, rest in peace. I mean, Kawartha Downs, rest in peace. Barry, rest in peace. We might just throw everybody on there. So I'd love to hear what of all of those was, the favorite for Miles Tyson.
I'd have to say probably my Super Stock at Peterborough.
Really, eh?
Yeah, I don't know what it is with that track, but something with it just suits my driving style and just everything I've like. That track has probably been one of my most successful tracks in my racing career, racing cars. And then I'd probably have to say Flamborough in my legend.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's funny because for us, Peterborough, like, it's just
Peterborough's my home asphalt track.
Yeah, that's Wade's. That's why Wade's coming on this show tonight, because I said, who better to be on the show talking about Peterborough Speedway? And as a Peterborough racer, man, you've got to be thrilled with the stuff that they have done this year and what JP is doing for that facility. I mean, it seems like they're on the cusp. And I think, your former track at Sunset Speedway, they took a major leap this year in their promotion. Peterborough putting out these amazing videos and really upping the social media game. For you as a racer, it's got to be rewarding seeing all this work that JP is putting into the track that you race at each and every week.
Yeah, no, for sure. JP really knows how to run a racetrack, and he understands the whole cost factor of what it costs to go to the track and what it costs to race and everything, right? And honestly, the reason why we went to Peterborough this year was just because of the tire thing. It was a no-brainer, right?
Yep.
And just him trying to push in those tires, I think, was probably one of the smartest things somebody could do to try and keep the cost down in racing and try and draw more people out. There's tons of super stocks across Ontario, but a lot of people don't have the money to keep running them every weekend because it's so expensive because of the tires.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Flamborough, that situation that happened down there, but when I heard that they were dropping that whole division from the track, I thought that was crazy. I don't know. I guess would that have something to do with the tire rule, I guess?
I'm not 100% sure on what happened there. I do know a lot of the cars that did race there ended up at Delaware this year. Because I noticed a lot of the guys that were running there on a Saturday night on Friday nights were Flamborough cars.
Yeah, you lost like half the division with Chase Pinsono and Lane Zardo going down there, Sean Chenoweth going down there, and yeah, exactly, the Nagy's as well. So and
then I believe Collison was racing there too this year.
Collison, yes, you're right, and Collison was racing out there as well, and so the super stocks are so much fun, and I don't know. Again, we've kind of had this conversation, and they're actually one of the best people to have on to talk about it as a super stock racer. Not 3-4, I think it was maybe 2021. We had 39 cars show up for Delaware's Qwick Wick race. It was not that this year. I mean, you were part of the division this year, and while the counts were okay, they weren't what I think we were hoping for in a lot of cases when you only have a couple full-time. I think it was maybe 11 full-time guys, maybe less than that.
It's still
definitely
one hell of a show, though.
Oh, but it's like that's so I don't want to miss a single race because I don't know what it is about the super stocks that are just such good racing. And I think maybe a couple of times things have gotten a little chaotic. But like you guys out at Peterborough, I've seen a couple of races that Strongco put out there. And I'm like, holy crap, you guys are insane and not wrecking at the end of the day. Yeah, sure, make some contact and maybe there's some feelings at the end of the day. But the competition, like I said, coming down to the wire as it does. And what's nice to see is that it wasn't just one guy going out and winning. You know, there was multiple winners all season long and multiple leaders. And it's not like you were going out winning every single heat race. You know, you guys have the ability to get out there and anybody can get up there and win. I would love to see more out of the division, obviously. And I know that you would as well. But I just want to have your thoughts on what hell of a year for you. I mean, wins, feature wins, a championship, an ACC win, and it just seemed to come naturally this year.
Yeah, no, for sure. Honestly, I can't really. My dad, for everything he's done this summer, is just mind-boggling. The amount of hours he put into the car this year was just insane. I work so much through the week that it's hard for me to come home and work on the car for 4 or 5 hours and get back up at 5 a.m. and go to work every morning. And if it wasn't for him, none of it probably would have been possible this year. And then also the Sean McGorder, because him and my dad also talk a lot and bounce ideas from each other and stuff and just trying different things. And it's nice to have a guy that built a car that wants to win and is willing to help and get us to win. But honestly, yeah, like I never thought I'd have had a season the way that I did. Especially coming down to those, there was a couple times this summer that I didn't think I was going to be able to get the championship. I think it was the last 3 races or 2 races. I was sitting there and I was like, oh, this is going to be close. And then I ended up getting I had a bad finish the one night. I finished 6th, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and Gordon won, and I was like, oh, this ain't good at all. And then we ended up figuring out the point system and where I had to kind of finish and just kind of concentrate on that, but at the same time stress about trying to finish in the spots that you needed to finish in. And honestly, at that point, I just kind of went out and I just started going for heat wins, because it seemed like that's where the most points was in your heats. If you finish in the top 3 or win your heat races and then finish good in the feature, it seems like you can get a pretty good points night in. And the 2 DNFs I got this year didn't really help me either.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're the champion, and it comes down to the champion.
I think I ended up beating him by 2 points.
4.
4? Okay,
4.
So it was 4. I never really looked.
I mean, that's what I love to hear. I love it. You're so involved in the championship.
It doesn't matter how many points it was.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
All that matters is you came home with the championship, and you wouldn't have been able to do it without some amazing people. You mentioned your dad already, but you've had some supporters that definitely have helped you, partners on your race car. So this is your opportunity. We always like to do it here on our podcast because these are the people that allow you to be able to go out and race and helped you get a championship this year. So this is your opportunity to thank them.
Yeah, no, for sure. Stewart's messaged me there before the EPC race at Sunset that they sponsored, and they were interested in putting their name on the car. And I said, yeah, sure. That sounds like a good deal. And it was nice to have Jeff on the car this year and help us out for the rest of the year and stuff. Couldn't have asked for a better guy to jump on board and help us out. And the rest of the season probably wouldn't have been possible without him helping us. And then I was I was happy to be able to bring him home the championship at the end of the year with him on board and to be able to win ACC. I really wish we had a better finish at Velocity and did a little bit better at the Qwick Wick race there at Sunset, but we won't talk about that.
It happens.
It's definitely been an honor to see you go out and do what you need to do. Miles, it's funny. There's people that when you get to meet them, I believe I met you, maybe it was either last year at Delaware or maybe it was the year before at Delaware. You were with Garrett, and it's funny to see how people go about in motorsports, and you're one of the guys that we absolutely love to follow. And obviously you getting the ACC win as well was awesome. Patrolling around with the old classic, what do you call it, Wade, that the winners get? What is that thing called?
Oh, the crown.
The crown. Well, the crown of sorts, I guess we'll say. That so many other legendary names across all of Ontario have held, and now your name is now on that. We are so thankful that you took the time after a very busy couple of weeks and a busy season, Miles. Thank you for coming on the show, man, and all the best in the off season.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
That's Miles Tyson here on the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. Guest co-host Wade Yarrow in the house once again. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you all next week on the show.